Hi, and welcome to Virtual Done Well for another week. This week, I'm going to take a bit of a chance and do something a bit different because we're all sort of locked up in our homes at the moment. As you can see, I'm sitting in my living room. And I thought maybe this week I could push out a slightly longer video. Let me tell you what it's all about. Anyway, lots of people over the years have asked me, how did I get started with a virtual assistant business? How did I get started in business anyway? You know, kind of what's my background? Because Virtual Done Well is just one of the businesses that I have. How did I find out about virtual assistants and all that kind of stuff? So what I thought I'd do this week is actually share with you a seminar recording. Now, this seminar took place back in November in Sydney, Australia, with just a small group of invited friends. I think there was 20 or 30 people there, so it wasn't a big event. And a lot of people had asked me those sort of questions. How did I get started in business? How did I get started with a virtual assistant business? What are some of the problems with hiring virtual assistants? What are some of the positives and negatives? And what I did at that seminar was I shared that complete story with that small number of invited friends, and they got a lot out of it. So I thought, hey, what the heck? I'll share it with you here on YouTube, and anybody can watch it. So a couple of warnings. It does run for just over an hour, so grab yourself a coffee, a sandwich, a biscuit, or whatever. It does do the sort of complete history of my background. Not too much on that. It's pretty quick, and how I got started in business, and some of the pitfalls that I've had over the years with working with virtual assistants, and some of the positives, of course, to share those as well. Oh, and one little thing right at the end, because it actually shows on our website, and we use it to demonstrate to people some of the great benefits of using virtual assistants. There is a little promo right at the end where it just says, look, if you want to talk to us about hiring a virtual assistant, then go to this link. So rather than edit that out, I'll kind of leave it in, and I'll stick that link below, because who knows, there might be a couple of people watching this who actually want to hire a virtual assistant. So there we go. It's the complete backstory, but with lots of tips too. So make sure you take lots of notes, and it runs for about an hour or so. Enjoy.
Alrighty, good evening everyone. How are we all? How are we all doing, guys? Come on, serious? Are we all going to be this quiet the whole night? Come on, guys, a bit of interaction. Hi, everyone. That is so much better. How's it going? How's the day been? Has it been all right? Good. Windy, yeah, a bit rainy, a bit awful, wasn't it, actually? Yay for the rain, but geez, that heat, it was a shocker. Hey, welcome. Welcome to More Time, More Money event. I'm very excited to have you all here. My name is Dan Steinhauer. I am the MC. I'm also the camera guy. I'm also the sound guy. I'm also the clown. I'll be doing some party tricks later on. But I just wanted to quickly take a moment and welcome you all here. So welcome. It's very exciting when you can come to an event that actually means that there's something positive for your business or for the things that you're actually doing within yourself. And I get to see a lot of events. I get to go to different events all over the country, in fact, all over the world, and I get to see a whole bunch of different speakers and different presenters and different entrepreneurs. And I've got to say, you are very, very lucky to be in the room with Rob O'Byrne. Now, Rob I think he's been a business owner for about 64 years. Is that right, Rob? Okay. No, dog years. So it's different. Oh, that's even worse, isn't it? Oh, geez, that's not good at all. No, Rob has been a serial entrepreneur for many, many years. He's also owned lots and lots of businesses, and now he actually owns 5 very successful businesses. Not only that, he's very much involved in the Philippines and overseas and actually helping other people. He's very involved in giving back. He is extremely involved with that stuff. So I know he's trying to wind me up because he doesn't like to be talked about, but he's actually, what I'm saying is, I get to see a lot of people, I get to meet a lot of people, and he's a flippin' good dude. All right? There we go.
So, my name's Rob, and I'm a workaholic. But I've been clean for 8 years, and that's what tonight's all about, okay? How many people here own a business and work way too many hours on it? Quick show of hands. Yep, lots of you. So I have been in business for 22 years, and it took me at least 12 to crack the code on how to actually not wear myself out and sort of destroy my life in the whole process. So that's really what this evening is all about. And as you will have seen from the blurb that we sent out prior to the event, we're going to help you understand how you can cut down your time in front of the PC, generally by at least 30%. Was that good? We'll have that. We're going to gain an extra 10 or 20 hours a week. Yes, it's possible. What would you do with an extra 10 or 20 hours a week? We're going to boost your top line income, and we're going to lift your profits by actually working less. It's possible. Okay, so you're probably wondering, why are we doing this free event? I often wonder myself. We've been doing events for about 20 years. And some of you in the room, I know, have been coming to those events for 16, 18 years. In our businesses, we just love to share and to give back to industry. This is a little bit different because, as you'll understand as I go through this presentation, my business is actually all about consulting, management consulting. And what I'm going to be revealing tonight is something that's really helped me boost those businesses. So it really doesn't matter what kind of business you're in. Some of these tips tonight are really going to help you a lot. Okay, how many of you kind of sit there sometimes and think, I'm going to do this in my business and I'll get to it next year. It's a little bit like dieting, you know, I've got this list of to-do things in my business, and you never quite get there. It's that hockey stick principle. Yeah? Sound familiar? One of the things that made me understand how to finally crack that was a very long walk. Some of you that know me will know that every year I try to go on a bit of a hike, and it's about an 800k hike. The sign there says 790k's. That's 25k's in. Now, looking at me, you would think, how can he possibly drag his body that sort of distance? You don't actually have to be fit. But what I learned from doing that long walk in Europe every year is that big things have to be chunked down, and you can actually achieve big stuff by just focusing on the immediate stuff in front of you and planning ahead and chunking it down. And that's a lot of what we'll be talking around this evening as well. And that was me about halfway through. Okay, so this event is going to be really useful to you if you're a small business owner or plan to be. Hopefully you are all small business owners. How many small business owners have we got in the room? Sally did ask. Yeah, quite a lot. You're overworked and finding it hard to cope. Thank you. I should introduce this lady. Well, just turn around, my love, and take a bow. Generally during events, this wonderful lady will come and give me honey and lemon because I'm kind of suffering a bit and I'm smoke damaged. Pat is actually my wife. And we travel all over the world, literally doing events together. So thank you for looking after me, and thank you for putting up with me. Okay. So yeah, if you're overworked, constantly stressed, never have enough time, got lots of great ideas, but never the time to implement it. I'm the worst with the bright, shiny objects. And I've probably started 10 businesses and hung on to some way too long. You've got limited resources and funds. Who's kind of in their first year or two of business? Yeah, oh, lots of you. Really good timing for some of this knowledge. And who would love to have some support staff, but you just can't afford it? Who can afford, who can afford, 50, 60k for someone who's not going to do it as well as you do and all the rest of it? And very often, even if you've been at it a few years, your business has plateaued a bit and you're kind of just struggling to break through that next level. So this is going to be really useful for you. Now, there's a bit of an incentive to stay till the end, because at the end we have a USB wristband, and I've put a whole bunch of videos on there which are going to be really useful for you. So put up with my talk, really enjoy Sally's talk, and then right at the end we'll give you a feedback form, and you can exchange a feedback form for that wristband with loads of cool videos on it. Okay, who loves to network? Who hates networking? Oh, you're all really good networkers. That's great. Most people come to events, and this is the bit where they hate it, because they think, oh no, I've got to do a back massage and all the rest of it. All I want you to do is stand up, go and see someone on the next table, introduce yourself. 20 seconds. Meet someone at the next table you don't know. Okay, and that'll do. We'll sit down now. Well done. You've met someone new. Yes, you need to catch up with him later. Good guy to know. Okay, well done. Do you mind if I just take my jacket off, because it's going to get warm in here? Do I look fat with the jacket off, Chow? I look fat in everything, don't I? Is the shirt going to stay on? Yeah, the shirt's going to stay on. Yeah, it's a long story. On my last walk, my wife came with me, and I totally screwed my knees up, and it's really hard to exercise. And she's a great cook. Long story, lots of weight. Okay, let's commit to a couple of things before we get into this. So, and I will warn you, I'm going to go at 100 miles an hour. So take notes. You've got a booklet in front of you with some places to write notes. There's also a page there which says, here's your ahas. So any sort of really good ideas, jot those down. But I'm going to go quick. So we won't have a lot of time for questions, because I want to fit in a lot for you. So what I'm going to do is, well, what Sally and I are going to do, we're going to share our best tips. We're going to make them relevant. We're going to keep it simple. We're going to respect your time. We'll finish on time. We'll try to answer all your questions, either as we go or in the breaks. We'll keep things lively and energetic, and we're going to provide additional guides and videos and stuff through the evening to help you out. What you need to do is take lots of notes. You're going to use some of the tips that we're going to share. You're going to add at least 5 action items to your AHA page. You're going to come back on time for the break. We're going to have a supper break. You're going to get fed. How good is that? We're going to have a 20-minute break after my session. You're going to try and chat to other guests, even if you don't like networking, and you're going to stay right till the end, because that's where the really cool stuff is, which I'm not even going to tell you about right yet. Okay, we're going to commit to that? Good. So, breaks. We're going to have a break midway for 20 minutes, something to eat. I haven't got my name tag on, but hopefully I'll remember my name. Do keep the name tags on, because that helps with networking. Any questions, we'll try to do some on the way through, but my dearly beloved at the back of the room, wave your hand, will take any questions about admin and stuff like that, so just talk to Pat. Mobile phones, well, I know we've got some really heavy dudes in the room, movers and shakers, but try to keep the phones on silent or vibrate, because it does sort of interrupt it for other people. And questions, we'll try and take as many as we can on the way through. Okay, so we've established that most of us in here are business owners. That is good. How many years have you been in business? Let's do a countdown. 20 years. 15. You're not that old, Lee. You start when you were 12. 10. Well done. 5. 2. 1. Just starting up. Okay, great. That's a really interesting cross-section. All of this stuff's going to be great for you. Who wants to share their annual turnover? No one does, do they? So I'll tell you what we're going to do, because this helps me sort of tailor the talk a little bit. So what we're going to do is I'll ask you to close your eyes, and when I call out a number, you stick your hand up, and only I will see, okay? So we'll get an idea of the size of the businesses in the room. And if anyone peeks, we'll throw you out, okay? So keep your eyes closed. So who's doing sort of 250K a year and under? Okay. Who's doing 500K and under? Yeah. Who's doing 1 million and under? Who's doing 5 million and under? Who's doing over 5 million? Okay, so I picked those numbers just right. You can open your eyes. So about half of you are in that first level. And we've got a couple of each going further down. So this is going to be absolutely relevant. Types of businesses. Have we got the catch box there, Dan?
Behind you.
Oh, it's behind me. Sounds like a pantomime, doesn't it? It's behind you. Who wants to share what kind of business they're in? This is our microphone. So, here you go. Talk to the cross.
Nothing real exciting. It's pipe supply.
What is it, sorry?
Pipe supply.
Pipe suppliers. That's a good business. Do you import brass pipe, copper pipes from China? And polyplastic. Oh, we should talk later. We're doing a big job with that. Anyone else wants to share what sort of... Yeah, here you go. The coffee man.
Hey guys, I've started up a coffee app about driving customers into stores. So I've gamified deals.
Gamify it. Awesome. And someone over on this table, what sort of business are you in? Come on. Yep. Can you catch?
I do executive search into logistics and supply chain, similar to Kathy here.
Oh, okay. Well done. We're in the same business, which is kind of boring, but cool. Okay. Excellent. So we've got a real cross-section. So let me just ask you a question. Who here is happy at where their business is right now? Who'd like to see it be more successful? Okay, so let me ask you what success looks like. So for some people, it might be toys. So this is Chow and I out on a boat. It is a share boat. I've owned boats. They're a waste of money. This is a share boat with my dearly beloved. So it could be toys. It could be property. It could be houses and, weekenders. It could be holidays. So this is Pat and I on one of our walks across Spain. Yes, she also walks 800 k's every year. What else could it be? It could be doing good works around the place, like giving to charities. So think for a moment about what would success look like for you if you were able to grow your business, which generally means more money coming into the business and more time for you to do things. Okay, so the key is about more time. More time allows us to do better marketing, better sales, brings more money into the business, and it's all about freedom and choices. We don't need to feel greedy in business. It's not all about the money per se, but more money coming into the business gives us the freedom to do stuff. Even if you want to give half of it away. We give quite a bit away in our business, which I'll mention. Now, a little bit of a tip, because people who come along to our seminars, and as I mentioned, we've been running these for about 20 years on different topics, there's two kinds of people who come along. There's those who are going to sit there and go, nah, not for me, sit on the fence, don't like that. What I would ask you to do is to, if stuff isn't directly relevant to you right now, try to think about, well, that's interesting, maybe that doesn't work for my business as it is now, but how could that apply? How could I take that concept and maybe adapt it a little bit? And then there's a whole bunch of people who come along to our events who go, yep, I get it, and dive straight in and achieve great things. So which camp do you want to be? I leave that up to you. Now, in terms of the format, I'm going to be up for about 60 minutes because we started a little bit late. We're going to have a supper break, and then we're going to have Sally talking about personal branding and social media. So we're going to give you loads and loads of good tips, and we'll do a summary and some gifts at the end. I'm going to be choking a little bit through the smoke damage, but excuse me. This is going to be a 120 mile an hour background story. Who is Rob, and why the hell is he here talking about making more time, more money in your businesses? When you get to my age, and I haven't been in business for 83 years, I am 62. I've actually been a business owner for 22 years, but obviously in business a lot longer than that. It's interesting when you sort of get a little bit older, and I'm not so vain as to call myself middle-aged, I think I'm past that, but you kind of see your life going in cycles. And it's interesting when I look back, I see kind of 20-year cycles. And the first one really centred around me at the age of 15. This is me. Unfortunately, Pat always looks at that picture and goes, crap, why didn't I meet you then? I'm sorry, my dear. This was me at the age of 15. And who was really great at school? A real sweat and did really good at the exams. Or maybe some of you didn't do too well and you were kind of in detention all the time, and any people like that? Yeah, school for me was a 6-day-a-week gig because detention was on Saturdays. So I was always the one who was told, you will never amount to anything, you are stupid. I was taken out of history and put into woodwork. You wouldn't dare do that with kids these days. But I grew up being told I was absolutely dumb and would never amount to anything. Let's see what happened. So at the age of 15, I got thrown out of school, and I was mad keen on army stuff, so I went and joined the army. You could join the army at the age of 15 back then. A funny thing happened, because after about a year or so, our commanding officer came along and he said, "Oh, Byrne, you really ought to consider officer training, And of course, I got this hard wire. No, I'm stupid, I'm dumb, not good at anything. Put that on the back burner. People kept saying that, and after about 5 years, I said, well, all right, I'll give it a go. And with a lot of support, managed to go through officer training in the British Army, and they put me through a master's degree in logistics at Cranfield, and suddenly it's kind of, well, maybe I'm not so dumb. And then the sort of third cycle, I came to Australia at about the age of 40, and I started management consulting to big corporates, and started my own consulting business and then a training business, and that's when I sort of developed 10 different businesses, 5 of which I've kept going. And the one at the front here is a social enterprise based in the Philippines, which provides virtual assistants, which is kind of a bit of the topic this evening. If you're sitting here wondering, is Rob going to try and sell us something? What do you reckon? I am. Well, you're shaking your head. But I will tell you right now, for those of you who are at the position in business where you think some really cost-effective support would help you, I will offer that at the end, but unfortunately there's only about 5 spots. We're very limited. So let's get that out of the way, the uncomfortable bit, and now let's talk about how we can support your business. So my consulting business, we're based in Australia, Thailand, and Vietnam. We consult about 24 countries around the world. We work for all these sort of companies. Why am I showing you this? Because I run a reasonable business which turns over multi-million dollars and works for very large corporates. So I kind of understand business as well as big business as well as small business. And then as we come to the fourth cycle, the fourth 20 years, what I found as you get older is you start to get more interested in people. And you actually want to develop people, so that's when I started some training businesses. It's when I started writing books. I wrote 5 technical books about supply chain. This is actually a book launch this evening as well, because we've just produced a book in conjunction with this event. And then I got into developing training businesses and so on. So there's a very quick life story in sort of 20-year cycles. What have I learnt from that? Why have I bothered showing you that? A couple of lessons. One, if people tell you you can't do something, tell them to bugger off. Okay? Don't let people put you down. And, if you've got an idea and you reckon it's really going to work, go for it. There's a psychological reason why people want to hold you back. They don't want to see you get into trouble, get hurt, have disasters, all that kind of thing. There's a whole science behind it. If people say, don't risk it, don't do it, tell them to get on with it. The other thing is do some really good research as you're getting into businesses, and make sure that what you love, the market's going to love. Because the 5 businesses that I started and folded were kind of my passions, but not the market's passion. So, really do something that you love and that you know there's a market for. Okay, so on the people front, one of the things that we love to do, and we started doing about 10 years ago, is that as part of our business, every client invoice that we send out, we send a charity certificate with it as well. So a proportion of our income, it's about 10% of our profits, all goes to charities all around the world. And we don't only do that for clients, we do that also for people who share their time with us and give up their time. So there's an envelope on your tables saying, don't open this till Rob says so. You can open that now, that one, and let's see what we've got. There's a little thank you for coming along. There's a few different ones, if anyone wants to shout out what they've got. What do you got, Kathy Ann?
Oh, lovely. Nutritious lunch meals, 5 orphan children.
Oh, there we go. So just for coming along, 5 orphans have been fed because you turned up. That's good. And Spiro, what have you got?
Malaria treatment.
Malaria treatment for kids in Kenya, that's one of my favourites. I think we've got a few trees as well. Has anyone got trees? We're planting trees in the Daintree. I had to get an Aussie one in there. Okay, so that's just a little thank you for coming along. We do that for all of our events. Okay, let's talk a little moment here about business growth stages and see if any of this resonates with you. I can just about remember back to year one. Lots of enthusiasm, lots of energy. You know, you start to get your first clients. They actually like your product and service, and everything's 100 miles an hour, and you're working really long hours, and it's great. That anyone in their first couple of years kind of experiencing that. Every new sale is like a great thing. Year two, what starts to happen is you start to work longer hours because your business is growing and you're maybe developing new services. You start to get a little bit tired. You're starting to feel a bit guilty because maybe you're not spending enough time with partners and kids and that type of thing. What I find then is about year three, your motivation's starting to get a little bit dented, and you're trying lots of new things and some of them are not working, and you're kind of on that treadmill and just getting busier and busier. You can't break through that glass ceiling. And then I reckon from about year four onwards, it kind of plateaus. And that can be for a couple of reasons. One, you're doing okay and you're paying the bills and there's no sort of great motivation or incentive to do better. And the other is that you're kind of just getting tired and you kind of don't have the energy to do new stuff. Does that resonate with anyone? Is kind of plateauing a bit like that? That was me for about 12 years. And it was really hard. I had one business then. And what happens? Well, burnout, yeah, I was constantly burnt out, I think. My first marriage fell apart as a result of that, with 4 kids, which is not great. Thankfully, everybody's still friendly. So those sorts of things are going to get impacted. People think running a business is fun. A lot of it isn't. Having a job is easy. Running a business is very hard. Long hours, lots of pressure. And that doesn't really get easier. So what are some of the danger signs? The long hours, you're wearing many hats, you're doing lots of low-value tasks, you're rushing client work, you're missing opportunities, that sort of personal and business growth is plateauing a bit, and the big one for me is that relationships start to suffer. So just as a tip there, I travel a lot on business. If I'm staying overnight anywhere, Pat comes with me. If it's client work overseas, even better, we'll tack on a couple of days. We were in Taiwan running some workshops a month or two back. We tacked on 3 days and went sightseeing around Taiwan. People who say that they've cracked the work-life balance, I don't believe it. I reckon the way to do it is to merge them. It's very hard to separate them totally. Do you reckon you've cracked it, Aaron? No. Work here, life there. It doesn't work like that. So I think where you kind of merge it a little bit, that's really how I get over that. So let's just do a quick show of hands here. So your business might be a side hustle or something like that. Who'd be putting 20 hours a week into their business? Quick show of hands. Yeah. So it's probably not your main source of income. Up to 40 hours? Yeah, a few there. 60? Yeah, oh, quite a few there. 70? Yeah. Over 70? Yeah, Lee, we need to talk afterwards. As a consultant, I watch my billable hours all the time. I billed 120 hours one week, back in that crazy 12-year period. I mean, talk about burnout. It's absolutely ridiculous. I was consulting during the week. I was doing the accounts at the weekend, trying to do the marketing, getting out and selling between gigs. If you're a solopreneur, that's one of the traps. You're delivering services to a client, but you're then not marketing and selling. So you've got to balance the time. You've got to allow time for that. So let's do a quick handout here. What takes up your time? I'm going to give you 2 or 3 minutes just to jot down some things here. What are the big time consumers in your working week? What are some of the time-wasting things that you wish you didn't have to do? I'm just going to give you a couple of minutes to jot a couple down, and then we're going to ask for some feedback. We'll keep the pace going here, and you can sort of think about this a little bit later, maybe even after the event, but we'll just share a couple here. Who's got a couple? Who's got a couple they want to share? Yep. There we go. Ready? Got it.
Email management,
Email management.
and I don't like it.
No, I get about 400 emails a day.
Yeah.
Half of them are probably ones that I need to look at.
Yeah.
Maybe 10 of them are really important.
Yeah,
I don't manage my email anymore.
awesome.
I'll show you how I do it. Any others? Yep, Lee.
Video editing.
Video editing. I shoot 4 videos a week. I don't even know how to edit. Any others? Mark, you had one? Yep.
Prospecting, working in the business, client-focused output,
Yeah.
and networking with support resources.
Yeah.
I network with a lot of colleagues in the industry
Gotcha.
to fill the gaps.
Very time consuming. Yep. Okay, and one more perhaps. Yep, Kathy Ann. Whoa.
In my case, at the moment, lately, spending time sourcing candidates for a non-exclusive role or a non-exclusive
We
deal.
can fix that. Okay, interesting. So all of those things, very few of those were value adding. Would you agree? Just churning up time and leading to that sort of burnout and overwork. Okay, so there's another handout here. Think about if you had a resource, very low cost resource, almost free, what do you think you could delegate? What would you love to get off your plate? So Kathy Ann, that sourcing of potential candidates, that's just head down, straight research. What other things do you think that you could actually get someone else to do? I'm just putting this little chart out for you. And up here, we're trying to think of, the things that really add value. That's probably the stuff that you might want to be doing. The lower value, but the things that take up a lot of time, these are probably the things that you could actually get someone else to do for you if you had that resource. So Lee, in your case, video editing takes ages. I'll just give you a couple of minutes to jot down a couple there. All right. Okay, so who wants to share one that you think you could delegate if you had a cost-effective resource to do it? Mark?
Building business media profile.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maintain it, build the base, the current, but also the relative follow-up.
Absolutely. Follow-ups? I'll tell you how I do follow-ups. A bit later, Kane.
At a stage at the moment where the app's been established and built, and now we need to go out and get coffee stores on board.
Yep.
And really struggling to find the time to go out and do that while I work my own business as a carpenter.
Yeah.
Trying to find time to break away, and some people don't want to talk to you. You got to come back, and so it's hard finding the
Takes
time.
lots of meetings. And, yeah.
Oh, so much.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be great if you get the leads just coming into you? One more maybe, something that could easily be delegated. Yeah, yes.
For me, it's a lot around marketing. So following up, leads follow up, video, social, success stories, content management.
Yeah. Oh, have we got an answer for you? Okay. So all of those things could quite easily be delegated with just a little bit of training. If you had a low-cost resource to do that, this is how we do it. You now get on, and that's your task. Okay. Let me just ask you how you value your time. This is a pretty critical thing to understand. Look, it's a simple chart. If your income is 50 grand a year and you are working, let's say, 48 weeks a year, public holidays, sick leave, all the rest of it, your hourly value is probably about $28. If you're bringing in 200 grand a year, your hourly value is probably $100. What we do in consulting is we never expect we're going to be using all of our time for client work. We work on about a 70% utilisation. I'd be saying to you that in thinking of the tasks that you're working on, you need to think that your time is worth about $200 an hour. So when you're doing stuff in your business, is it worth $200 an hour? And, back in my 12-year hellhole, I was doing $5 an hour work. That's why I was working 120 hours a week. So value yourself. That's the really important lesson out of that. So your time is the key. What are the $200 an hour tasks? It's sales, it's planning, it's delivering services to your clients, it's training people, it's hiring the right people. That's where your value is. It's not in the little tasks. The lower value stuff you can get done for $7 an hour, and I'll show you how you can do that. The sorting the email, the chasing the payments, the posting social media, setting appointments, booking travel, all of that stuff can be done for $7 an hour by someone else. That's how you free up your time. That's the key to it all. So how would you use an extra 10 or 20 hours a week? Think about that for a moment. What would you do if you could take away some of those menial tasks, someone else would do them, to your instructions, and you'd have 10 to 20 hours a week spare? What would you do with it? Maybe just share a couple of things. Yeah, sleep, whatever. Go to the gym. It doesn't have to be work-related. Targeted prospecting, because that's where the value is. That's because most business owners are the rainmakers. Yeah, any other thoughts?
Spend time with family.
With family, absolutely. Don't do what I did. Any other thoughts? Bring in more business. Expand. Yeah, that's it. I tell you what I do. I have gained back so much time with the strategies that I'm going to share. I now take 3 months holiday a year. I work 40 or 50 hours a week because I quite enjoy it, but I don't need to. I could probably get away with 20 hours a week running 5 businesses. So it's all about getting control of your life, getting your life back. I actually just closed down one business. The danger is now I'm going to open another one. I've got to fill the void. So my name's Rob. I'm a workaholic. Okay, so let me just run this past you. If you had an extra 10 hours a week, and a couple of people mentioned they'd use it for prospecting, let's say you're currently turning over about $200,000, and maybe a client is worth $5,000 a year to you. Yep. Let's say you could get back 10 hours a week, and you only spent a third of that prospecting and trying to bring in new clients. You'd bring in 48 new clients over the year. Let's assume that you're really hopeless at sales and your close rate is only 35%. So you've got those 48 prospects, you're actually only closing a sale with a third of them. That's 17 new clients a week, $84,000 top line to your business added on. That's not bad. My maths is terrible. That's a 42% lift in sales income. So think about where you would use that time. I'd suggest if you can free up your time, you'd spend some on sales, you'd spend some on marketing, you'd spend some on you. Traveling, spending time with family, looking after health, that kind of stuff. But you say, I haven't got that many leads. Well, if you had someone helping you bring in the leads, let's say they brought in 5 leads a month. Someone working full-time, could they bring in 5 leads a month to your business? Wouldn't be hard, would it? It's like spending a week just bringing a lead in. That's another 55 leads a year. Do you see where this is headed? Just with a little bit of training, you can actually get someone to step up and do a lot of this for you. What if your business is a bit bigger? What if you're doing $500,000, million, 5 million? Look at the numbers. Just by freeing up 10 hours a week and having someone help you bring in a few leads. Absolutely possible. And I'll share what I've been able to achieve in a moment. So, what's the secret to it all? It's actually outsourcing. So, you've probably heard of call centers in the Philippines and India. there are some real traps, and I'm going to share some of those traps with you. But the concept of sourcing people from overseas who just happen to live in a much lower economy, you can be still paying them a good wage, it just happens to be a lot lower than here, and you can have dedicated support from professional people actually supporting you in growing your business. A lot of people say to me, isn't that taking away jobs from Australians? And no, my experience is not. Because what's happened in my own business is that I have an overseas support office now that actually allows me to run 5 businesses. It allows me to grow the sales in the businesses, and it allows me to hire more professional staff here in Australia. So it's actually a win-win. It's a bit of a catch-22. If you're in those early years of a business, you can't afford local staff. So this kind of helps you break through the barrier. Does that make sense? So let me show you how you can access people. There is a whole range of websites online where you can find people to help you do stuff. There's one called Odesk. There was one called Elance, which has now become Upwork. There's one called Fiverr, where you can... I've had book covers designed and all sorts of things done on these websites. There's some good, some bad. I've probably hired about 20, 30, 40 contractors off these sites for individual projects. I want someone to proofread my book, okay? I wrote it. I got a proofreader on Upwork who turned it around in 2 days. I got a typesetter on Upwork who turned it around in 3 days. One of my team designed the cover and we got it printed in 3 days. So, you know, that sort of concept, the gig economy, is the way of getting stuff done really quickly and cost effectively. This is my old Elance account. I don't know how many jobs I ran through there. Just a tip, if you want one-off stuff done on some of these sites, I ended up having quite long-term relationships with people who were very good at what they did, and they would provide a constant stream of stuff for me. In the early days, I very often hired 2 or 3 people for the same job, particularly if it was urgent. So, you know, I want you to design a book cover. I might give the work to 2 or 3 people and pick the best one, particularly if it's a bit of time pressure, and it's very inexpensive. You know, then as you get to know people, if you're getting people to help you write stuff and so on, as you get to know them, you just keep farming the work to them. So a great source of, you know, cost-effective support for you. So the tips I would give, make sure you give a very clear specification of what you want, provide all the supporting information. So if I want a book cover designed, you know, so this is what the book's about, I want it to kind of look a bit like this. Go through the careful selection, look at the feedback. You know, we're all really used to that now. We get feedback on our Uber rides, so check all the feedback, pick people who get great feedback, give good feedback as well, and pay promptly, be a good client. So lots of great people. I had an event that I wanted to run, excuse me, a few years back, and I wanted some graphics to show people what the event was like. But of course, we'd never run the event before, so I had no photographs. I got a lady in Holland. I sent her a photograph of someone else's event, and I said, turn it into a sketch. And it came back 12 hours later as a sketch, and it looked fantastic. And I had all these sketches to use for my event promotion. So, you know, some really good people out there. What about, you know, sort of home-based outsourcing people? They're very good for sort of one-off things. If you want a specific skill, I want you to design a web page, I want you to do a book cover, might want you to edit a video, do a voiceover, you know, all sorts of people. So these are freelance professionals working from home. What they're not good at is if you want full-time support, because, you know, they're working with lots of different clients, they're very hard to track down sometimes, not so good for routine tasks. If you want them sort of integrated into your business, that's a little bit harder. If you're sharing IP, that gets a little bit tricky. You know, if it's mission critical stuff, I'd be a little bit wary. And maybe, you know, surge capacity, you're better having sort of full-time support. But, you know, all of those different websites where you can get people are great. So I was using lots and lots of those. I was using Upwork and Fiverr. And then I started trying some office-based full-time support people. Now, we've got a handout here, 101 tasks that you can get someone overseas to do for you, just to start get you thinking. This is actually a list from Chris Ducker. We will attribute it to him. Chris Ducker has written, it wasn't the 4-hour work week, but it's kind of outsourcing your life, all that kind of stuff. Really, really cool stuff. This is just to get you thinking about some of the things that you can outsource to people overseas. So let me share my outsourcing journey, which started about 8 years ago and kind of got me out of the poo, to be honest, because I was slowly disappearing down the gurgler. I actually went to an event, I was going to say not unlike this, but excuse me, it was very unlike this in terms of the outcome. And someone was promoting these offshore outsourcing centres, and I thought, this is great. And I hired 3 virtual assistants through a big outsourcing centre in the Philippines. So it was really interesting, and it's kind of, they're all based in a place like this and getting supervised, and everything was hunky-dory. But after 6 months, the reality started to permeate through. So I had 3 people working for me full-time. I found out actually what they were getting paid, and it was vastly different to what the company was telling me. It was very, very low, even by Philippine standards. We were actually giving them days off, like Melbourne Cup Day and Australia Day, and I said to the management, if we give them days off, do they still get paid? And they go, oh, yeah. They weren't. So we were basically punishing our team by giving them days off. We were paying bonuses through PayPal, which were taking 3 to 4 months to get through to our team. I hired a personal assistant, one of those 3. I only found out months later that she had to manage 2 clients for the first 3 months. She was looking after me, really busy, and another client, and wasn't allowed to say that, I have to cover 2 clients. And it's absolutely appalling. And a lot worse, I can tell you, that came out later. So basically, my personal assistant, who was working overseas then, she basically said, I quit. Love working with you, Rob, but this is a horrible place that we're working in, and I'll finish out my 12-month contract, and, I really need to go and find a nicer place to work. So what do you think my reaction was? We'd been working together for 6 months, and it was great. And I said, look, see out your 12 months. I'll come to the Philippines at the end of 12 months. I'll send the 3 of you on paid leave for 2 months, and let's talk about it. Let's not be unprofessional, but you finish your contract, and then I'll come over and we'll talk about it. And so what do we do? Well, I flew to Davao City in Mindanao, almost the sort of southern part of the Philippines. Never heard of it. I had to look it up and find out where it was and what's it like and is it dangerous. And I went over there, and I finally met live the 3 people who'd been working with me for a year, and we went office hunting. So that was fun. They'd identified 3 or 4 offices, and we found an office, a little one that would take half a dozen people. And this lady on the left was my PA at the time, and she was 19. It was her first job out of school. And I said, well, you're my PA, you're the boss. We had 4 staff by that time. I said, you find the office, find a lawyer, find an accountant, and let's set this business up. And she ran it for 4 years, I think. This is the lawyer that we found. This is the engineer who's going to fit out the office, and this was the guy who rented us the office. Very nice guy who sells mangoes. Here he is, rolling up the sign, delighted, because the office had been empty for a very long time. And this was our first board meeting with our lawyer, and it was quite fun because we sat around and said, oh, we need employment contracts. How do we do those? And we kind of whiteboarded, how much leave do you get in the Philippines, and how much leave do we get in Australia, and which public holidays do you think we should have? And it was all very collaborative, a lot of fun. And that company was born, Virtual Done Well, about 8 years ago. And then it started to expand very rapidly in all sorts of ways, because lots of babies coming along as well. So we ended up, I think, with a team of 10 people, and then other people started coming along and saying, how does this work? Can I get in on this? And we thought, well, okay, so we'll move to a bigger office. And this is Evelyn, Atty Evs, as she's known, big sister Evs. And Evelyn runs the office in the Philippines for us. She's been with us 7 years, does a fantastic job. And so, as well as running all these different little businesses, I now have this virtual support business in the Philippines, and I have to say it's kind of one of my favourite businesses. Lots of fun. So we had lots of people who wanted to tap into this resource, and I have to say it's very boutique. We just let a few friends in. am I about to sit on a cup? No, I'm about to sit on a catch box. And I asked a few people the other day, what do you think? Well, a little bit of feedback, and one of those is in the room, actually. Let's see what they got to say. Was it gone, Daniel? Yeah, it was really good. Yeah, there we go.
Definitely relaxed, definitely more productive as well.
Right.
And I rely on them to have my back pretty much, like I can just have a quick meeting or send an email and get small things done that we're going to help me to move forward with the other things I'm doing.
I mean, it's a great benefit to me to have the administrative tasks that I've assigned to my assistant taken care of, and she does a great job. To know that that she's going to take care of those tasks, to receive regular reports on the work that she's completed, it frees me up to do higher value tasks.
It's definitely freed up the operations management team in Australia, and then you find you can, if you've got big projects coming down, then you can mobilize more people, even on a short-term basis. We've got our core 4 people there now, and we're probably going to ramp up some more next year, depending on what business comes in.
I can see that now I can apply my time to do different type of activities. I don't see myself getting caught up in small activities holding me back to move forward.
Thank you for that feedback, Virginia. Sitting at the back of the room. Yeah, so I just had a quick chat with 3 of our, we call them external clients, because within the office, so there's Virtual Done Well, is this outsourcing support business. Within the office, I'm a client. I have, how many people do we have now, Chow? 10 looking after our businesses? Yeah. And then there's like 40 more looking after other small businesses. So a lot of fun. And I often talk about how outsourcing spreads happiness, because what it does, it takes a lot of pressure off the business owner here. You're able to grow your business. You're able to spend more time with family. It provides darn good jobs for the people in the Philippines. Chow goes to our Davao office 4 times a year. I try to get over every year. Wonderful people, great environment, but it's really hard to get a good job there. And I can remember one of my video editors a few years ago saying, Rob, I'm really sort of grateful for this. He says it's bloody hard here to get a good job that puts a roof over your head and gives you a reasonable income. And, that's part of the reason that I want to do it. They're really, really great people. And like we do here with our businesses, a proportion of the income goes to charities all over the world. And we also support local charities in Davao City as well, which I'll mention in a moment. So what can virtual assistants actually do? Because people who haven't utilised the virtual assistant before, you kind of think of, this body on the end of an email, and how does the relationship work? It must be all a bit awkward. So we've got a team of 10 now looking after my business. 6 of those report to me directly. So I started with 1 8 years ago. I'll warn you, they kind of do grow on you, and your team sort of expands over time. So what do? We have a couple of people in accounts. That's Diana sitting at the front. We've got 3 in accounts now, haven't we? Prinny, Diana, and Marianne, of course. We have all our IT support there. Levin is one of the key guys on IT support. We have people doing web design. I think I've got 20 websites. I have 14 social media accounts. This is how I keep 5 businesses fueled. And then the nitty-gritty that we were talking about earlier, How do you get all of your email managed? How do you manage your diary? Travel, all of that stuff. A very interesting thing happens now. If a client wants to meet with me, they don't call me directly. Now, you may have noticed a few people wearing Virtual Done Well t-shirts on the way in. What I did, it was purely coincidental. 4 of the team were over staying with us for 2 weeks. And I said, look, while you're here, why not run an event? And we thought we'd share some of the stuff. So Rose, come on up. Give Rose a microphone. Now, some of you have probably spoken to Rose. If you see Dan on the way up. So Rose has been with us for 2 years, and you've been my executive assistant for about 1 year, haven't you?
Yeah, more than one.
And you volunteered when the last one left and actually had to go back home to a more remote city.
Yeah.
So if people want to set an appointment with me, what's really cool is that it's developed to the point where they don't call me, they call Rose. This is like big corporates. They'll say, I need to catch up with Rob for 10 minutes, I'll call Rose. Mostly they don't even realise that she's in the Philippines. You've got a Sydney phone number, you don't sound foreign.
I don't know.
We worked in the States for a while. So email filters, Rose deals with all of that. She'll remind me of stuff constantly. So let me ask you a question. What's it like working for a boss who's actually in a different country? Is that a bit weird?
No, actually, because I think it's it's no different than working in an office-based boss, just because we constantly communicate. May it be Skype, video, phone call, email. I think that constant communication makes me feel like, oh, he's just right over there, but in reality, he's way over here. And now that I've been here, it's not actually awkward talking to you. No.
But I've been to the Philippines a few times.
Yeah.
It's not like we've just met. We worked together for 2 years. Yeah, so Rose provides all the executive assistant support that you would expect from somebody sitting in the office with you. Travel, everything.
Yep.
Amazing. I need to go and see the doctor. I'm always forgetting to book doctor's appointments, and Pat knows now to ask Rose, can you get him to book, Rose does it. So really awesome support, having a dedicated personal assistant who doesn't, is always there, and it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. Websites. So how many websites we've got? About 20, I think.
Yes.
All with blogs. I need to have those updated. We do a lot of custom communication work. A lot of you would have had a call prior to this event from one of our telemarketing staff. Chrissa, where are you? Come on, get up here. So Chris is on my team and does all of our customer communication stuff. And you've been whizzing around all over Sydney while we were working. So how do you find working with someone overseas and making calls to people overseas? Because one of the things I always say to you is don't be offended if people go, oh, it's a bloody sales call, and hang up, because we all get so many telemarketing calls, don't we? How do you find that?
I'm quite scared at first. Because I'm used to work with back office administrative tasks. And when Rob asked me to do telemarketing, it's new to me. But you know me, Rob, I like new things, I like challenges. That's why I accepted the telemarketing job. And it's very rewarding to see you guys who I talk to the phone. Yes.
She's alive.
Not all telemarketers have this wonderful experience. So thank you guys for coming up tonight.
Okay. Who else we got on the team? So creative work. We talked about document design and infographics and videos. We produce at least 4 videos a week. Professionally edited. Get up here, Louis. Come on. Here's my #1 video editor. I have 2 video editors now. I do so much work. Jim is holding the fort back in Davao City. So Louis, tell us a little bit about your background and what makes you sort of qualified to do all this creative stuff.
Hi guys, I am Louis. So I graduated IT major in multimedia systems in the Philippines. So I mainly do marketing videos, YouTube videos. If you got a chance to see some of our videos of More Time, More Money, so that's probably me or my colleague, the second.
You now have an assistant.
Yeah, that's Jim.
Yeah. Okay, really cool. And what other support do we get? Now marketing systems. Who's baffled by marketing systems? Which CRM do we use? How do we link them all up? How do we promote events? So come on, Leia, come on up. This is our marketing systems guru. I don't know how any of this stuff works, but Leia does. So let me ask you a question, Leia.
Hi, guys.
So you somehow link all our systems together using Zapier. What's Zapier?
Yeah, Zapier is a third-party integration tool. So you must be wondering, how do I get the confirmation email from Eventbrite? So I'm the one doing that, and Zapier is helping me to do that.
Okay, and people might be thinking, what's a good CRM tool to use? We use Infusionsoft. What's a better? Are you listening, Chow? What's a better one?
Infusionsoft is basically for business entrepreneurs. So if you're wondering, if you're like looking for someone who could create a setup automation for your company, if you wanted to follow up some certain clients, leads, Infusionsoft will be great. If you're like a small entrepreneur, you can do MailChimp or ActiveCampaign would be good.
Yeah, okay. And if you want any more tips on that, Blair is available on the break. Okay, thank you guys. I know you really wanted to come up on stage and talk to everybody, but no, thanks for coming along. So sadly, they're going back to the Philippines tomorrow. They've been here 2 weeks. Hunter Valley Wine Tour, cruising on Pittwater, really busy time. Okay, so if you're wondering, what can I get a virtual assistant to do for me? I'd say virtually anything. There's not much that you can't get remote support to do. And I think what's really cool is, the relationship that you actually build up online. We chat 2 or 3 times a day on video Skype about projects and what's happening and so on. Yes, Kathy Ann, you had a question?
Yeah, now that you've got your own tight team, I'm sure there's a lot of consistency in your branding.
Yeah.
My question's around when you first started doing that and you have task-based VA
Yeah.
rather than a team.
Yeah.
How do you keep that consistency across the team?
So my very first PA, that little lady on the slide, did my websites, all the branding, the graphics, my email. She did the whole lot. I kind of gave a little bit of direction. This is how I want it to look. And then it's like any business. Hire people who are really good and smarter than you are at stuff. Have I ever told you how to edit a video, Louis? No, he's much better. He's trained in it. I'll send him a raw video, which is quite complicated, like the one we did together with 3 cameras. And Louis will work out how to get the best out of it. Louis did all the graphics for this. I just said, put a bit of green on them. I rely on professional support to guide me. But, branding is really important, and Sally's going to be talking about that. Obviously, you want to give some guidance on, we've developed business avatars and things. This is our target audience, and this is how we kind of want to hear and appear to the market and so on. But really good question. Any others at that point? Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, Rob, I've got a question. And it might be a question for Sally.
Yeah.
In terms of managing all your social media, if you've got somebody else who's responding to the comments on your blogs,
Yeah.
comments on your posts, then how do you recognise them and prevent? Because you've not, like...
Having someone responding as you mean? Yeah, that's actually not within the rules of social media, I don't... No, we don't do that. No, we don't do that. No, we don't do that. No. I manage my personal social media accounts. So Chrissa is posting on the company pages. No, that's me. That's me. Don't worry. That's me. No, so Chrissa's publishing on our blogs and on our company pages. Yeah. No. But I have to say, Chrissa's posts are better than mine normally. She's been studying. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Some stuff you need to do yourself. So there's 4 of my personal team and 2 who are fairly new to the team. So they haven't quite earned a trip yet, but probably next year or so. Selecting a VA, if you're wondering, there's lots of opportunity to get out there and find virtual assistants. Lots and lots of different companies. How would you select them? I always recommend hire on attitude. My very first personal assistant, I was very smart. I had my wife Pat sitting off camera for the video Skype interview. And I said to her, which one do you like? Wise move. And we both agreed on one of them, and she just came on 100 miles an hour on the video. Hi Rob, I'm really looking forward to working with you. I'm going to be doing this and doing that, and we just both went, oh wow. And that's the lady who ended up running the business for 4 years. So hire on attitude. Language, obviously very important if they're going to be talking to customers, telemarketing, things like that. So Chris is great on the phone. Most people when they're calling Rose to make appointments, don't realise that she's in the Philippines. But because you worked in the States for a couple of years, it's kind of, your accent's gone. Technical skills, third. You can, that's nice to have, but you can train them. And experience, probably last. So, all about attitude. So, would you want to get started with a virtual assistant? I suppose is the question on when to start. It's I think for anyone running a small business, and we're all small business owners here, I think you should seriously consider it sooner or later. Sooner is better because you start to get the benefits quicker. The benefit flow comes through. You'll start cutting your hours down. You'll start getting more business coming through the door. So that's really important. And I did warn you that for a very few minutes. Very few minutes. You're showing me 10 minutes. It was 5 minutes. 2 minutes ago. I did mention right at the front that we do have some spots available in our Philippines office for new clients. There are 5 spots. So that's why we only invited a very select group. You'll notice this is not a room that sort of seats 200. We just wanted a few people along. And so you're probably wondering, have those 5 places gone? Yes, they have. But the good news is we've got a few more. Now, I should explain, you probably realise that was a recorded seminar that we did a little while back here in Sydney, Australia. We're now back in our studio in the office, but we've had so many inquiries since we did that event. We're actually making little kind of blocks of more places available. So if you're watching this now and you're thinking, do we have some places available for new clients and new virtual assistants? We do, because since that event, what we do is we bring on a block of 5 or 6 new virtual assistants, we bring them up to speed, make sure they're all ready, and then we can take on more clients. So we do go through an application process. We need to be a little bit careful about the clients that we take on and make sure that we can fully support their needs. In 95% of times we can. Occasionally, there might be a business where maybe their needs are a little bit unusual, and we'd rather not to commit to that sort of business. So there is a little bit of an application process to go through, but there's no fee for that. Now, if through watching this you have realised that I really need to get a virtual assistant, and you would like one of our virtual assistants to help you, get your time back, help you start making more money in your business, helping you, get that freedom that's being a business owner is all about, then all you need to do, and I would urge you to do it right now, is to jump onto this link. So go to virtualdonewell.com/apply, and hopefully we've got a link that you can click on the video as well. So that's virtualdonewell.com/apply. And all you need to do is jump onto that page, enter your details. We're going to ask you 2 or 3 questions on there as well, just to make sure that we understand what type of business it is and what sort of VA you want. And then within about 24 hours, we will come back to you and we'll arrange to have a discussion. And that discussion will basically be around what your business is, what some of the blockages are in terms of you wanting to get your time back a little bit more. What kind of tasks would you like to be able to delegate to a virtual assistant? And we'll tell you whether that's likely to work or not. Like I say, in 95% of cases it will. And then we can also talk about what type of person you want, because you want the right sort of person that fits into the team. You've seen some of my team. Since that seminar, I've got 2 more on my own team, and I'll talk about it another day perhaps, but my team actually select the new members of the team, so we have a great working relationship. So yeah, on that interview, jump onto this page, fill out your details, we'll talk to you within about 24 hours, and we'll talk about the type of person that you want and when you want them and what sort of working hours you want them to have, and answer any questions that you have. So thank you very much for jumping on and watching our seminar and for listening to all the sort of benefits that this sort of support can give you. It really is fantastic. It's been totally life-changing for me. It's allowed me to get a lot more freedom. I think, I mentioned in the seminar there that how I take a couple of months holiday every year now, how I've just taken all that stress off my shoulders, to be honest. I've just got reliable people now who've got my back. and able to unload all of those sort of tasks that just was too time consuming and not adding value. You know, the sort of tasks that I shouldn't be doing. And I'd really love it, you know, if you were going to get a sense of that freedom as well. So there we go. Thank you for watching. If you're serious about your business, about getting some help, jump onto that link, virtualdonewell.com/apply, and we'll be talking to you very soon.